You're listening to the Modern Mainframe, BMC's intelligent Z optimization and transformation podcast, covering the latest trends and issues on the mainframe and how BMC AMI and BMC CompuWare solutions can help you build a mainframe-inclusive DevOps toolchain. Well, hello there. Welcome to the Modern Mainframe. I'm Atul. Today we have part two of a discussion of the role of metrics in DevOps, specifically about BMC CompuWare zAdviser. Joining me once again are Manager of BMC CompuWare Product Management, Spencer Hallman, and DevOps Evangelist Atul Bhovan and Tony Enter. In the first episode, we talked about the value of measurement and using the right key performance indicators. BMC has a tool, BMC CompuWare zAdviser, which collects information from development processes. So Spencer, what is zAdviser? What does it do? How does it work?
Yeah, so zAdviser, it's a 5-step process. And the first step is getting the data, right? So all of our BMC CompuWare, now starting to be some of the BMC AMI products, capture data about how users are interacting with them. So if someone is debugging a program, we'll write a record that they are going to debug a program and which program they're debugging. They use the watch command or the monitor command, or they're using any of the commands in Expediter. We make note of that and we write records of that as well. So we get a lot of data from our products. We also ask our customers to send us data about, their SCM activity. So if they are a BMC CompuWare customer, we're going to capture data automatically from ISPW. There's no extra effort. But some of our customers actually send us data from our competitive SCMs. So they extract data from that and they send that to us as well. And we use that to create KPIs for them. So how many components are they deploying on a weekly basis? How many packages are they deploying on a weekly basis? Information like that. And then we also ask for, and I don't know if this is always the right term or not, but the ITSM data. And so this is data from products like Jira, BMC Helix, or BMC Remedy. So, if there's a bug, someone's going to open a ticket, a help desk ticket. Or if they're going to do new development, they're going to open a Jira for, they're going to write the story to do that new development. And so customers extract that out of those products as a CSV file, and then we ingest that into zAdviser as well. And so once we have all this data, we can create those development or those DevOps KPIs for them. And because we're a SaaS product, we can let them know what good looks like so they can compare themselves back to everybody else. So they can see, we aggregate all the customers' data together and we let them see how they're compared to everybody else. So company A will never, ever see what company B is doing. But there's 5 companies in zAdviser. Companies A, B, C, D, and E together will aggregate all that together and put that out as an average that everybody can see. So nobody else knows who's in zAdviser, but they do know what good looks like. And so we create those KPIs, and the next step is to do some sort of prescriptive analytics. And so we identify the features that they're using in our products. Now, there's hundreds of different features and functions in our products. And what we did was we went back to our SMEs and we said, what does a developer really need to know about Topaz or really need to know about Expediter? And we call these our essential features and functions. So it really whittles down the list of what they need to know. And so from that, we do some analysis too, and we show these are the features and functions that they're not using. So we identify, say, Atul's not using the watch command in Expediter. And so his manager could go out there and see that and say, hey, Atul, you're not using the watch command. And we know that developers that use the watch command are more productive. Go watch this short video to learn how to use the watch command. And then finally, the 5th step is continuous improvement, is to remeasure. So this isn't a once and done process. It's a continuous process. So this really is the 5 steps of zAdviser. And again, this is a free service for all of our maintenance paying customers. So we put a lot of time and effort into this, and if you're a company out there, BMC CompuWare customer, you should want to participate in this.
And you're continuously improving zAdviser itself.
Yeah, absolutely. Every quarter we put out new features and functions, new dashboards. Our products capture additional data, and we put that into zAdviser. So for January, one of the BMC AMI product is going to start capturing and exposing that data. So BMC AMI Message Advisor for IMS is a net new product into zAdviser. So customers with that product will be able to see what BMC AMI Message Advisor is doing for them and how it saves, as the product manager says, saves their bacon on a daily basis, preventing the IMS applications from going down.
So Tony and Atul, you both work with customers. Tony, you recently were a customer. How are you seeing customers use this data? What kind of changes are they making when they have this information to work with?
I think that, like we discussed in the previous one, it's a way to build continuous efficiency and continuous improvement, right? As you go through and you use zAdviser to measure where are your bottlenecks, where are your issues coming from, then, what we did was we used this data to basically show us where do we need to put our resources. Like any organization, there's a finite amount of resources, no matter how big the company is. You don't have infinite time and infinite people. So if you have a limit to that, where are you going to put your resources and where are you going to have them concentrate fixing things, making things better, improving things, making them more efficient? I think that was one way we used it. The other way was also in the previous episode, I talked about the ability to know where to put your training efforts, right? I think Spencer talked about it. You know who's doing what, you know who's using what. And it's not to catch people, it's not to expose people, it's to show, just like I said, where are those inefficiencies? Are you not using that function because you don't understand it, because you don't know how it works? We need to put some additional training in that area. I think those are the ways that we use the advisor and these metrics, was to show us where we could be better, where we could improve.
So if I can kind of extend the response there, from my interactions with customers who are using zAdviser, there's a number of areas that they really kind of see the value in. First of all, in terms of adoption, they are making massive investment in new tooling, in changing processes, and they have goals to meet. And they've got to make sure that the stakeholders are able to see that they're getting a return on their investment. So measuring the uptake and adoption of the solution set, making sure they can put metrics and measures around how much benefits they're getting from these tools and quantifying that, that's really important for them. And the second aspect is they want to make sure that this improvement they're making is sustainable. So over time, as staff members leave, new people join, they may have outsourcing organizations working with them. They want to make sure they stay on top of the capabilities they've got currently. So if people are using, for example, Expediter really well currently, we want to make sure that in 6 months' time it's still being used well. Same in 12 months' time. So the sustainability aspect is very important. They also want to make sure they can identify champions, people who are going to be very good users of FileAid or Strobe, for example. And they want to make sure they can rely on those people to coach or mentor some of the new joiners and make sure they can get up to speed very quickly as well. And the final one actually was a quote I had from one of my clients, a large bank in the UK. And they said that it's enabled them to have real conversations now. So the fact that they see a metric on a dashboard is great. They can now take that metric, get together in a group and have a conversation around it, and put in place some measures to make sure that they can improve things or rectify things as well. Before, the lack of visibility of these metrics meant they couldn't have the right conversations. So this was a massive win for them.
I'll throw this question out to the whole group. With more people working remotely, especially over the past couple of years with COVID, gathering the metrics on what people are using and how they're using it probably helps management determine how things are going and what areas need to improve when they can't always be there to see things firsthand, right?
Yeah, I think it just enhances the need for these metrics, right? It enhances the need to be able to measure that without everybody being in a single room or a single place or a single office or, one cube over. It's nice. I'm sure it helps management to be able to see how efficient my team is. And I also think as the world transforms post COVID into a more remote workforce, it shows you where, like what's working and what's not. if you can't see it, to the point Atul just made, if you can't see it, you don't know what conversations you do or do not need to have. So with everybody not there and you know, the office chit chat about what's going on and what's not going on taking place, the need for something like zAdviser is even more important.
Yeah, I think too, you don't know what you don't know. And if you're not measuring it, you might all of a sudden start noticing that it's taking another week or two for your code to get developed and deployed to production. Without being able to go, if you were to look at, you know, the development productivity statistics in zAdviser, you might see that the development time is actually taking the same amount of time. But if you didn't have that data, testing time maybe is taking more. Management's knee-jerk reaction might be to say to the developers, you guys are all working from home and you ain't doing anything for me. You know, you're sitting there watching TV all day and you're pushing out less code. And the problem is, might not even be not the developers at all, but it might be on the testing side. So that's, if you don't know, if you don't have the data, you're never going to be able to figure out where the problem is and then what to do about it.
So Spencer, in our January 2022 release, we added some new dashboards to BMC CompuWare zAdviser. What are they, and why are each of these new KPIs relevant to the DevOps process?
Yeah, so you know, as I think I mentioned either in this episode or a previous episode about the Topaz adoption dashboard. So customers have been asking us for that single pane of glass to understand how people are adopting our modern IDE Topaz. And so now they can see, are they adopting the modern IDE? Are they adopting Topaz or not? We already had a dashboard that kind of gave insight into their file and data management activities, whether they were doing it in Topaz or they were doing it in the 3270 interface. So we thought another good dashboard would be a debugging dashboard. And this identifies, you know, where are they debugging their code? Are they debugging it in Topaz or are they debugging it in 3270 interface? And I think, as I mentioned earlier, one of the things that kind of raised our interest in this was that, are they even using a debugging tool, right? And having some conversation with the customers, this is, as we create these new dashboards and these new KPIs, it's raising new questions at internally and also externally at our customers. We added the escaped absence ratio to the benchmarks KPI dashboard. So we have a quality dashboard that gives you that type, you know, that detailed information around it, but we're also putting it on the benchmarks dashboard so that you can see on one pane of glass all the KPIs are, and now also compare yourself to everybody else. We have a net new product, new BMC AMI product, BMC AMI Message Advisor for IMS. So what that does is it monitors your IMS queues and it prevents overruns, and it identifies, allows, if there are problems, you know, be able to go back and figure out when the problems started to occur and address those. Another interesting thing, you know, in talking to some of the SMEs over that, there's automation that can be put in place, and there's manual activity that takes place. Looking at this, they're saying, wow, there's a lot of manual activity here. This is something we could automate, which leads back to another dashboard we haven't really talked a lot about, but it came out a couple of quarters ago. It's called BMC AMI Ops for Automation. And so this is another BMC AMI product that automates all the messages that come in. Based on the messages, you can have automation take a certain action. And so we can start to see now how much automation is actually getting deployed. One customer, we saw that, hey, you know, they have the product, they have it turned on, but there's no automation taking place. So now we can go back to that customer and we can work with them to help them get the full value out of the product that they're not getting out today. You know, when you look at the future too, one of the things Tony is brought up to us and Atul is the DORA metrics, and that is something that we're actively researching now. I think there may be some more pieces of data we have to capture in order to really fill those out, but I think we have about probably 80 to 90% of the data that we need to create it. And so we're going to be looking in the, you know, either in April or July, or hopefully to deliver something around the DORA metrics as a separate dashboard.
We're seeing that zAdviser isn't standing still anymore. It's actually continually changing and evolving based on the needs of the customers. And I know your team works very closely with existing customers, and based on the current usage of zAdviser and how they're modernizing, they're looking for additional metrics in there as well. So I think that's a very, very positive way of looking at things. And just as an example, you talked about the dashboard measuring Topaz adoption. organizations are understanding and recognizing that Topaz is a far more productive platform than having people still use ISPF. So they do want to get more people using Topaz and leveraging as much of the capability as possible in there. And it is an IDE in the true sense. It's an integrated development environment. We're not jumping out of one product and jumping into a different product. It is really integrated. So the field having recognized that value, I think, is why they've requested that dashboard. And now you delivered it. So fantastic work there.
Yeah, one of the most rewarding parts of this job is talking to our customers and getting that feedback, positive and negative, though. But they help set our development efforts. What do they want to see in the product? Instead of us sitting in a vacuum talking about what we might want, customers give us that feedback of what's really needed, and that's what we work on.
Yeah, I think the customer aspect of that is absolutely key. You can't, while we're all smart, I'm sure we would all throw out the idea that we're really smart guys. We're only three brains. We need the customer feedback. We need those people in the field, in the industry, to come back to us and show us what are those metrics. Today's metrics might not be tomorrow's metrics. They might not be tomorrow's KPIs. So we need to see where things are going and get that feedback. So the customer aspect of this, I can't highlight the importance of that more. I think that is absolutely key into making these dashboards. So as you're looking at zAdviser and you're seeing, all the value that it brings with all the different KPIs you can measure, if there's something that's missing, that's something that needs to come back to us so that we can start adding that in. And I think zAdviser does a brilliant job of taking that feedback and turning that into new dashboards and new capabilities, new measurements that you could make inside the tool.
Metrics in general and what we collect in zAdviser can not only help with getting developers on board, it can also help with getting stakeholders on board with the entire process, right?
So think about this from a business perspective. I, as a stakeholder in a DevOps transformation, have just spent N million dollars transforming my organization, providing tooling for all of my development staff to make their experience and their day-to-day a lot faster, better, more efficient, delightful. I've now put how many millions of dollars into tooling to deliver things faster? What is my return on that investment? I need to be able to see that. That's where the measurement of this becomes key. The stakeholder wants to see, okay, I spent $5 million, $10 million, $20 million, like whatever that number is on making things better. I'm going to say it that way, making things better. How much am I making them better? Am I making them, an inch better? Or am I making them a mile better? Am I making them $1 better? Or am I making them $1,000 better? It's those kind of things that your business unit wants to see, your business unit stakeholder. And the people that sold this to the rest of the organization, they're going to want to show that value. They're going to want to show that improvement, that uptick, that additional efficiency to offset the investment that they put into this. And that can't be underplayed. While we're all in this for the coolness of doing new technology and new things and, the whiz-bang new toys, at the end of the day, we all work for a business, and that business wants to see a return on that investment.
100% correct. Exactly what I've experienced as well. Now, I'd like to provide the response in a slightly different way. In working with quite a lot of organizations around the world, this is a massive transformation they're going through. They've never done anything like this before. And what they're looking for is not vendors to sell them products. They're looking for partners to go on the journey with them. And I think part of the measurement is to gain the ROI in terms of working with this partner now. Am I getting the return on investment that I want? And they want to make sure that we are not going to be selling a product and walking away. We're going to be working with them throughout in terms of not only education, but the full implementation, in any migrations that might be required, for example, and making sure that we help them with the mindset change as well. So as BMC, we've done this with many customers, and we have a lot to contribute in that area. So the measurements and the ROI that are calculated are measuring not only their transformation success, but also the performance of us as a partner. And for us, it's important to have that as feedback also, because we want to make sure that if there are areas where we're underperforming, that we can be proactive and improve on those areas. And where we are doing well, it's nice to understand what we are doing well also. So these KPIs work in many different ways.
Thanks, Atul. I think we're just about out of time, but is there anything else you'd like to add in closing?
I would. Tony, anything you want to add first?
I'm just going to reemphasize, if you cannot measure it, it does not exist. We're not in a world of gut feelings or I think we're doing better. If you can't measure it, it doesn't exist. So you need to have those metrics, those KPIs, those numbers that you can go back and say, I've become X% more efficient.
Final thought from me, really, in that in working with new organizations, we often do ask them, what are the most important metrics to you and how do you measure them? And sometimes they're a little bit embarrassed to say, actually, we don't have metrics. Or they may have some, and there's somebody sitting on the corner over there who is working through spreadsheets and takes a month long to put together some dashboards and share them with the management team. So with zAdviser, it is something which is a game changer. It's available to our customers at no cost. It's a service that we are very proud of and want to make sure that they are able to leverage that. And we are doing it for their success. So for anybody out there who isn't aware of zAdviser and wants to have a discussion around it, then please do reach out to your friendly neighborhood BMC team. We'd be more than happy to give you information around that. But also the other thing that I mentioned earlier is that zAdviser will enable you to have really productive discussions internally, not just at management level, but even the practitioner level as well, in terms of why did this happen? How can we do this better? And why are we being measured on this specifically? So ask the question about why the metric is in place also. So it's a fantastic offering from our side, but it's a fantastic capability that our customers are able to leverage. So I hope they do that as well.
I hope so too. I'll put some links in the show notes so our listeners can get more information on Mainframe DevOps metrics and BMC CompuWorks zAdviser. Spencer, Atul, Tony, thank you for being here today. It's been another great conversation.
It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
And thank you also to our listeners. We'll talk to you next time on the Modern Mainframe. You're listening to the Modern Mainframe, BMC's intelligent Z optimization and transformation podcast, covering the latest trends and issues on the mainframe and how BMC AMI and BMC CompuWare solutions can help you build a mainframe-inclusive DevOps toolchain.